Moon Ketu Conjunction versus Moon Jupiter Conjunction. Understand the fact that the intention of this video is not to compare, is not to show which is greater and which is smaller. You can never compare any conjunctions because every conjunction has a certain motto. Every conjunction is there for a certain output, and that output or that result you cannot decide whether it is good or bad for the person's growth. So this video is simply to analyze and understand the beauty of both conjunctions, Moon Ketu and Moon Jupiter. Now many a times people come with this kind of questions that Moon Ketu conjunction, it is bad, it is this and it is that. But many of you don't know that even those who have Moon Jupiter conjunction, they also have gone through many sufferings. The point here is that apart from the conjunction, it all depends on how your other planetary aspects are. And in my words, it actually depends on how you are from within. If you are an evolved soul, if you are evolving, if you are taking efforts towards your spiritual growth, towards your inner growth, then these conjunctions, Moon Jupiter, Moon Ketu, can actually help you. So it all depends on who you are from within. Now a conjunction happens in a cheap person's horoscope also. In a very cheap and offensive person's horoscope also, the same conjunction will happen. And the same conjunction will happen in an evolved soul's horoscope also. It all depends on what you are from within. If money falls in a cheap person's hand, he will spend it for all pleasure-seeking activities. If money falls in a wise man's hand, he will spend it to help others. It all depends on what you are from within. And once you know what you are from within, then you don't need any certification or any validation from others. It is only weak people who are constantly in search for validation. That I am good, that I am a very wise person, that I am this and I am that. Because they are weak. One who knows that he has a balance of crores of rupees in his bank account, then even though people call him poor, it doesn't matter. Because he knows what exactly he has. So you see, so that is why when people call you mad, when people call you idiot, when people call you stupid, it is okay, as far as you know what you are from within. So in this podcast, I have precisely talked about these two conjunctions, Moon Ketu conjunction and Moon Jupiter conjunction. So listen to this podcast and understand the beauty of these two conjunctions. So let's begin. Moon is mind. The journey after death is of the mind and not the soul. The soul is still. The soul is the part of the universal consciousness addressed as God by the human world. Soul is as pure as water. Always remember, the whole journey of birth and death and the sufferings of human life is centered around the mind. That is why the great spiritual master Nisargadatta Maharaj says that suffering is always mental. Pain is physical, suffering is mental. Beyond the mind, there is no suffering. Pain is essential for the survival of the body, but none compels you to suffer. Suffering is due entirely to clinging or resisting. It is a sign of our unwillingness to move on, to flow with life. Beyond the mind, there is no suffering. And so the whole story comes down to that one thing, and that is the mind. The mind is represented by moon in astrology. Ketu is one of the greatest and the most beautiful energy that helps the sadhak, the spiritual seeker, to completely kill the mind. When the mind dies, when the death of the mind happens, enlightenment happens. That is when a Buddha is born. Buddha is not a name. Buddha is the state of no mind. Ketu moon brings the great potential of experiencing the state of no mind. Every great spiritual master has emphasized on killing the mind, the death of the mind. A young spiritual seeker once asked Bhagwan Raman Maharshi how to kill the mind. Bhagwan smiled and said, "The mind cannot kill the mind. Anything that you endure to do with the mind will only reinforce and perpetuate the notion of mind. Rather than pointlessly wondering, how shall I eradicate the mind, go on seeking the mind. Search for what mind is results in its disappearance." So when you start searching for mind, the mind starts disappearing. That is the beauty. The thing to do is to completely ignore the objects that appear by the reflected light of the mind, and instead seek the source of the mind's illumination. If the source of the mind is continuously sought for, it begins to subside. The point of focus is to continuously hold on to the subject, no matter what the experience might be that present themselves. Pay no attention and continue to remain focused on the subject. The subject is your notion of I. Go on examining this notion until it disappears. The foremost focus of a true spiritual seeker is to ensure that the mind disappears, the mind dies, that the mind goes through the cycle of death. The greatest and the wisest master of all spiritual masters, Gorakhnath, says, "Die, O yogi, die. Die, sweet is dying." Because in this universe there is nothing sweeter than death. Die that death, and die such a death Gorakh died and saw. Die that way in which Gorakh attained enlightenment. In the same way you die and see. One death we are already familiar with, in which the body dies, but our ego and mind go on living. This same ego finds a new womb. This same ego, troubled by new desires, again starts off on the journey. Even before leaving behind one body, it is already eager for another body. This death is not the real death. I have heard one man told Gorakh he was thinking of committing suicide. Gorakh said, "Go and commit it, but I tell you, afterwards you will be very surprised." That man said, "What do you mean? I came to you so that you would tell me, don't do it. I went to other sadhus. They all cautioned me, brother, don't do it. Suicide is a great sin." Gorakh said, "Are you mad? No one can commit suicide. No one can even die. Dying is not possible. I warn you, do it and you will be very surprised. After committing suicide, you will discover what? The body is left behind, but I am exactly as I was. And if you want to commit real suicide, then stay with me. If you want to play nonsense games, then it's up to you. Jump from some mountain, put your neck in a noose. But if you want the real death, then stay by my side. I will give you the art which brings on the great death. Then there will be no possibility of returning again." But that great death seems to us to be nothing but great death. That is why he is calling it sweet. Die, O yogi, die. Die. Sweet is dying. Die that death. Gorakh died and saw. Gorakh says, "I teach death. The death I passed through and became awakened. It was the death of sleep, not of me. It is the death of my mind. The mind died, not me. The ego died, not me. Duality died, not me. Duality died and non-duality was born. Time died and I met the eternal. The small constricted life broke and the drop became the ocean." Yes, certainly, when the drop falls into the ocean, in one sense it is dying. As a drop, it is dying, and in another sense, for the first time, it attains to the great life. It lives as the ocean. What a beautiful way of expressing the ultimate truth, the significance of overcoming the mind, the death of the mind. I humbly prostrate before my dearest master, Sri Gorakhnath. Without him, I am a dead rock. With him, I am always alive, fresh, and rejuvenating. This process of death of the mind happens through the association of Ketu with Moon. That is why great enlightened beings have this conjunction or association of Moon Ketu in their birth charts. One of the finest example of Moon Ketu conjunction is the great enlightened spiritual master Bhagavan Raman Maharshi. Born on December 30, 1879 at 1:30 am, Bhagavan Raman Maharshi has Moon Ketu conjunction in the sign of Gemini, and his ascendant was Libra. I humbly prostrate before Bhagavan for allowing me to share his chart. Everything happens by his grace. Another finest example of Moon Ketu conjunction is the spiritual master Baba Tajuddin, whom Avatar Meher Baba addressed as one of the 5 perfect masters. Tajuddin Baba was born on Jan 27, 1861 at 5:15 am. Tajuddin Baba has Moon Ketu in the sign of Cancer, and his ascendant is Sagittarius. So he has Moon and Ketu in the 8th house, a very strong spiritual indication. Hazrat Baba Tajuddin was a great Sufi saint. Today, his shrine is located in Nagpur. This is the resting place of Hazrat Baba Tajuddin. Mostly everyone who visits Nagpur goes there at least once. It's a very peaceful and divine place. The story of Baba Tajuddin is very interesting. Baba Tajuddin was born on Jan 27, 1861. Baba's forefathers had migrated from Mecca and settled down in Madras, that is Chennai, in India. His father was an employee in military. His ancestors were descendants of the 11th Imam. Baba Tajuddin became an orphan at a young age, and so he was raised by his maternal grandmother and uncle Abdul Rahman. Soon he met Abdullah Shah, who initiated him into the spiritual path. It is said that one day Abdullah Shah said to his school teacher that there is no need of teaching this boy, he is already a learned person. He also gave young Tajuddin Baba some dried fruits and nuts as his blessings for Baba, which is said to put the young boy into an ongoing spiritual trance-like state. Baba completed his education and studied Urdu, English, Arabic and Persian. Baba was a highly educated person, and at the same time he was one of the greatest masters that the world had ever known. However, it is an irony that this perfect master was declared a lunatic and kept in a mental hospital. He was kept in the Nagpur Lunatic Hospital for more than 16 years. However, Baba Tajuddin started his divine play from this place and virtually converted the mental hospital to a place of worship. This is one of the biggest illusions of nature. The mad people of the mad world declaring the knowledge, the wise man who had come to redeem them of their worldly madness as mad. But how could the authorities confine a soul that is in a state of pure consciousness within the four walls of a lunatic hospital? As was the practice, the inhabitants of the hospital used to be locked up in barracks and cells at night. Similarly, Baba was also put up in a lockup. Soon after he was locked up, a strange incident took place that spread Baba's name far and wide. Baba was admitted in the lunatic hospital on 26th August 1892. On the same day, many people saw him moving freely in the streets of Kamthi, even after he was locked up. On the next day, that is on 27th August 1892, an army soldier who under the orders of the court had brought Baba to the hospital, he saw Baba roaming in the street. The shocked military officer ran back and informed the British officer of the regiment. The officer immediately rode his horse and searched for Baba. He ultimately found him sitting under a tree, smiling at him. The British officer was so enraged at seeing him moving freely that he straightaway rode to the lunatic hospital at Nagpur, situated half an hour distance from Kamthi. He asked the doctor on duty, "Where is that insane whom I sent here yesterday?" The doctor informed that he was in a locked room and also showed the officer where Baba was locked. And behold, the officer found Baba Tajuddin was sitting inside the room in the same posture in which he had seen him sitting under the tree only half an hour back, smiling at him. On seeing the officer, Baba said, "Brother, you are doing your work and I am doing my work." The officer was so influenced by the divine personality of Baba that he instantly became his disciple and started visiting Baba on every Sunday with his family members. Thereafter, Baba used to move at various places inside the mental hospital as well as outside the mental hospital. Gradually, Baba's name became so famous that thousands of people from near and far started lining up before the mental hospital every day to have Baba's darshan, blessing, and help. What an irony! A great enlightened being, and his place was in a mental hospital. During his 16 years stay in the mental hospital, Baba cured thousands of people of diseases, granted children to the childless, and took on his shoulders the responsibilities of lakhs of his devotees. Baba's fame and love for people had been drawing thousands of people daily to the lunatic, that is, to the mental hospital. Even the staff of the mental hospital, including the doctors, were his devotees. It is said that the doctors gave report that Baba was not mad but a person of unusual qualities which medical science cannot explain. In the meantime, Maharaja Bahadur Shrimant Raghoji Rao Bhosle, the Maharaj of Nagpur, had become an ardent devotee of Baba, and he started visiting him regularly. One day, in the evening, he thought of getting Baba released from the mental hospital and to bring him to his palace. The same night, he saw a vision in the dream in which Baba appeared and pointing towards a red palace said, "O elder brother, let me stay here." It was early morning 3 a.m. on 9th July 1908 and it was a Thursday. The Maharaja immediately called his officials and discussed about the steps to be taken to get Baba released. The council decided that the Maharaja should immediately make an application for release to the governor. Ultimately, after depositing a security money of rupees 2000, the Maharaja secured the release of Baba on the 21st of September 1908 and brought him to his palace. From his palace, Baba started his divine work. Once Baba was lying down on the sands of the river when two ladies by the name of Shantabai and Subhadrabai from Amravati approached him. While touching the feet of Baba, they mentally prayed to him for children as they were childless. Baba heard their inner prayers and gave a sweet, a laddu, to each after tasting them. He blessed them to have sons. While they were returning, Shantabai ate the laddu as a blessed prasad, but Subhadrabai did not because Baba had tasted the laddu and was a Muslim by birth. She quietly got the laddu buried in the sand. As the divine will could have it, Shantabai got a son 9 months later. When the child was about 2 months old, she came to Baba with the child for his blessings. Subhadrabai, who had conceived even by that time, accompanied her. When Shantabai put her child at the feet of Baba, Subhadrabai could not control herself. She fell at the feet of Baba and started crying. "Baba, where is my child?" Baba told her to search the child from beneath the sand, indicating that he knew where the laddu was. Subhadrabai immediately realized her mistake and repented profusely before Baba. The perfect masters are incarnation of kindness. Her repentance and plight moved Baba. He blessed her to have a son, which she got after a year. The perfect master is a wish-fulfilling tree, a kalpa vriksha. Many more great examples of spiritual masters having Moon Ketu Conjunction are there. One only need to explore and the answer is always found, always. Moon Ketu Conjunction is therefore a conjunction that happens to be the next stage for those having Moon Jupiter Conjunction. Moon Jupiter conjunction is precisely focused on purifying the mind and mentoring the mind by the source of many religious rituals, by reciting religious scriptures, and basically strengthening the mind by the means of all positive affirmations and positive attributes of life. In simple words, Moon Jupiter gives you a mind that is influenced by all kinds of religious and spiritual chanting and rituals. It is a sign that from past birth cycles you have been indulging in many religious activities just to purify your mind. However, the problem is that the mind, though purified, it remains. The mind remains, and as long as the mind remains, enlightenment is not possible. Enlightenment is possible only in the absence of the mind. Moon Jupiter conjunction makes the presence of the mind more stronger and in a positive way, but the mind remains. So, this conjunction is not bad. It is a very good conjunction, especially for material life. It is a good conjunction, but it certainly does not bring the state of enlightenment which Moon Ketu conjunction brings to an evolved soul. Moon Jupiter conjunction is a person who would go on a pilgrimage, who would visit all the temples and shrines, which is indeed a very good thing to do. But then you have Saint Kabir, who is a perfect example of Moon Ketu. Saint Kabir says, I laugh when I hear that the fish in the water is thirsty. I laugh when I hear that people go on pilgrimage to find God. You see, this is exactly what a Moon Ketu conjunction evolved person would say. He is not interested in the ritualism or karma kanda. He is more interested in experiencing God by being in his own place. And that is what Saint Kabir says further. Saint Kabir says, I felt in need of a great pilgrimage. So I sat still for 3 days and God came to me. You see, that is how Moon Ketu conjunction is. That the person is perfectly aware that he need not go to any place. He just have to be where he is, and he just have to still the mind, and then God comes. That is the way, that is how it happens. That is why from the bottom of my heart and without having any sense of discrimination, I say unto all my followers that Moon Ketu is the highest stage where the mind can be dropped. Whereas Moon Jupiter is the stage where you purify the mind, you get ready, because a purified mind can be dropped much easily than otherwise. You see, that is the beauty of all. Purifying the mind is a good practice. Almost all religions and all faiths have emphasized on purifying the mind. How would you purify the mind? By daily chanting. By the source of daily chanting, Nam Jap, daily mantra chanting, you can slowly kill the mind. The mantra goes deeply into the very core of the mind and destroys it totally. And in that moment of destruction, the self is realized. That is how self-realization happens. That is why destruction of the mind is important. And that is why Mula Nakshatra, the very last nakshatra of Ketu, is Mula. And Mula Nakshatra is important. The very nature of Mula is to destroy all that which makes no sense. The very message of Mula Nakshatra is to cut all that which blocks your spiritual growth and to keep only that which is necessary. I love all those beautiful fellows who chant daily. What to chant? Which mantra to chant? Any healing mantra, any soothing mantra is good to chant. Start with Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Or recite the beautiful Rama mantra that Sri Gondavlekar Maharaj had initiated to his disciples. Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram, Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram, Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. Start reciting mantra. Guru Nanak says, Naam Japo. Bhagwan Nityananda Swami of Ganeshpuri says, recite the holy mantra daily with deep faith and love. When you chant, don't focus on the number of times you chant. Rather, focus on your heart and devote yourself to the Almighty. Remember, only love is the path, Bhakti Marg, and you will be able to walk on this beautiful path when you start chanting by surrendering yourself at the feet of your Divine Master. Love to all my dear followers. The road is long and I am becoming old. I don't know how far I will be able to walk. But as they say, the journey never stops. The journey always continues. Always. Jai Sri Ganesha, Jai Guru. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha.